Welcome to talk number 3 in our series on the 6 paramitas. And as Catherine said last time, the paramitas are 6 ways of compassionate living, a phrase that Pema Chodron uses in her books. And I just love also, they're simultaneously these qualities that we want to live up to, and they're qualities that we already have, and qualities that we want to nurture, and sort of ideals, kind of all packed into one. So I would like to start this talk with a quote from the late, great British icon, David Bowie, in his 1983 song, Modern Love, which I'm sure you all know, after this awesome guitar riff, which is like, he leads off and then he says, I know when to go out. I know when to stay in. Get things done. And that is an example, actually, a description of the Buddhist paramita of Shila, or discipline. Another more Buddhist way of saying what David Bowie's saying is knowing what to pick up and what to leave behind. I'm going to say this a couple times in the next 5 or 10 minutes, but it's very important. This is not discipline imposed on us from outside. This is not a parent scolding a child or a boss dressing down an employee. The discipline that we're talking about in the paramitas is one that we take on and we discover and we develop in ourselves. So to make this a little less intellectual, think back on a time in your life when you treated someone badly. Maybe you lied to them, or you said something cutting sort of mindlessly and saw how it affected them. And at some point you realized what you did and you apologized to them and you kind of made a promise to yourself not to act that way again. So your promise to yourself is your wisdom pointing you towards the paramita of discipline. I made a mistake. I caused suffering. I'm not going to do that anymore. So maybe you saw an animal being slaughtered for meat and you thought, I'm going to become a vegetarian. Or maybe you stole something and were embarrassed and ashamed. I'm not going to do that again. Maybe you had sex when you didn't want to, or you knew it was wrong. Maybe you lied to yourself or to other people. Maybe you drank too much, acted like an asshole, and then had to live with the damage for years. Like, none of these are new behaviors. We've all done one or many of them. I know personally that I've done all of them many times, and it doesn't feel great to reflect on that, but like that is, like, I've made mistakes. I think humans make mistakes. I have certainly made mistakes. Part of the process of growing up, I think, is starting to develop some discipline about one's behavior and making the vow, to yourself to say, I'm not going to do that anymore. But, then the situation rises again. Because there's meat and sex and lies and alcohol and everywhere in the society. It's like all over the place, these opportunities. And how do we avoid repeating the same pattern? And if we don't avoid it, if we do get hooked again, how do we treat ourselves and how do we treat others afterwards? Like, how can we get back up off the floor after falling down again and again? And how about after we hurt other people again and again? So that's where the idea of compassionate living comes in. It's not just that living up to the ideals of these paramitas creates a compassionate world. Like, wouldn't it be nice if? It's also that feeling compassion and open-heartedness and feeling the pain of yourself and others helps us live up to these paramitas, because we're open-hearted enough to see the impact of our actions. And therefore, we're naturally inspired to behave differently, to develop some discipline. Discipline is not just about the big things like killing and stealing. It's also about the way we treat ourselves and treat each other. It's having the discipline to say thank you when someone brings you a plate of food, or the discipline to keep focused on a project when you really just want to watch TV. In some ways, it's a kitchen sink discipline. It's not a big highfalutin thing. That's why Shila is sometimes translated as ethics or morals or willpower, which I think are fine words to use for Shila, but there's one enormous difference between the paramita of discipline and the way that we usually think about morals and willpower. The big difference, the important difference, is that if we are refraining from lying, we're telling the truth, we're not drinking too much, we're trying to be polite and kind to each other, we're doing all those things, not because we want to be a good boy and good girl and get a big gold star. Like in Buddhism, there is no one giving out gold stars. And actually, there's no gold stars anyway. So we're developing the discipline because we have seen the pain that not having discipline can cause for ourselves and for others. And we don't want to keep going around and around, endlessly causing pain and being hurt. We want to stop the pain. And we're going to do something about it. We're going to be more generous. We're going to be more disciplined. We're going to be more patient. And we're going to screw up, and we're going to make mistakes, and we're going to fall off, and we're going to then right ourselves and get back off of the floor and try again. That is, in essence, the path. So another way we can practice discipline, well, let me just say that if practicing generosity is, like one practice of generosity is giving something from your right hand to your left hand, you just practice that feeling and feel how it feels to give something away. One way to practice discipline is when confronted with a tempting offer, you just literally ask yourself, do I really want to do that? Just pause and ask yourself, do I really want to do that? And we can ask ourselves that 100 times a day. And there's no shortage of things to ask ourselves in this world about that. Another way we can practice discipline, another way we can develop the paramita of discipline, is to do compassionate, plain old meditation. So we have the wish, we have the aspiration to follow our breath, not just follow our wandering thoughts. And we think of ourselves and others, and we think of how mindlessness has caused pain. And we dedicate this meditation session to benefiting those people. So let's do that. I think by now you know what to do. And sort of just arrange your body in a comfortable seated position. You feel upright. You feel comfortable to the extent you can. You feel relaxed to the extent you can. Maybe your legs are crossed in front of you, or maybe you're seated on a chair. But you feel your weight of your body on the chair. And you say to yourself, I mean, we say to ourselves, we've set aside this next 10 or so minutes to follow our breath and not to follow our wandering mind. I want to develop that discipline. I want to develop that discipline not only so that my body and mind are more connected, but so when things get rocky and when I'm faced with a difficult choice, I have the ability to choose what would actually be helpful. But you have to start where you are. You can't imagine yourself in a better place and then teleport yourself there. You have to start where you are. So how do you feel? Feel your body. Feel your breathing. Take this moment and tune in with yourself. In those moments when you feel like you have landed, when you have connected with your body and your mind, just rest there. You can rest your awareness on your breath. And the feeling of your body breathing. Where you can rest in the whole experience and just feeling connected. You see the world around you. You feel your body. You feel your thoughts. You see the screen. We can rest in the present moment. There actually is no other place to go. But if you're not feeling connected, if your mind is racing around, if you can't find your breath, if you've got a lot on your plate, that's fine. Just recognize that. Just be with that feeling. There's no special state we're trying to create here. In fact, that feeling of distraction is much more common in our daily world. So extend some love to yourself, some understanding. Discipline is about opening your heart instead of closing down. We develop the discipline to open more. This is hard. Give yourself some love. You know, if you're having a hard time, give yourself some love. Hard. And then just try again. Try to find your breath again. Try to feel your body again. My first meditation teacher wrote at one point, never give up. Never, ever, ever give up. Okay, now just drop the whole project. Just relax a little bit. A huge laugh between. Jim, would you mind pulling up the 4 reminders again? I got to plug in my Mac.
Can everyone see the 4 reminders? Matt, looks like you're having some trouble with your screen. Do you want me to read it?
No, I got it. Thank you, Bill. May all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all be free from sorrow and the causes of sorrow. May all beings never be separate from the joy that knows no sorrow. May all beings rest in equanimity, free from attachment and hatred. Okay, well, it's almost 9:30, so if you have to go, thank you for coming, and I hope to see you at part 4 of the 6 Paramitas talk coming up on Thursday.